All right, we're going to go ahead and get the meeting started tonight. We're going to start out, have the prayer. It will be by Pastor Joanne Engud from God's House, and then Councilman Nick McKinley will do our Pledge of Allegiance. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. And my name is pronounced Joe Andy Angrand, and I am the pastor right here in downtown Marion on 6th and Gallatin. If you guys wouldn't mind, please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we come before you this evening with grateful hearts. We thank you for this gift of this day, for the privilege to gather, and for the responsibility you've entrusted to those who serve the city. Lord Jesus, you are the Prince of Peace, and we invite your presence into this room right now. We ask that your peace would settle every heart, every mind, and every conversation. Where there is tension, bring calm. Where there is uncertainty, bring clarity. Where there is weariness, bring renewed strength. Father, your word tells us that if anyone lacks wisdom, we may ask you and you give it to us generously. So today, we ask for wisdom that is pure, peace-loving, considerate, and full of mercy. Guide every discussion, every decision, and every vote with integrity, discernment, and compassion. We pray for unity without uniformity, for respectful dialogue, even when opinions differ, and for hearts that seek the good of the people above personal interest. Remind us that leadership is all about service and that true strength is found in humility. Lord Jesus, help each person here lead with courage, listen with understanding, and to act with justice and grace. May this meeting reflect order, purpose, and hope. And may the work done here contribute to the well-being and future of this community. We commit this time to you, trusting that you are invited and you lead us in the way that we should go. I pray for Mayor Morrell, I pray for the City Council, and I pray for the people of Marion. And in the mighty, matchless name of Jesus Christ, amen. I want to say God bless you guys, God bless Marion, and God bless America.
Thank you. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, next up, we'll do a roll call.
Kane,
Here.
Marshall,
Here.
Fordyce,
Here.
Brunner,
Here.
Klein,
Here.
Devine, here, Witten,
Here.
McKinley,
Here.
Cowgill.
Here. We don't have anybody for the spotlight for this evening, so we'll go right into the consent agenda. Does anybody have any discussion on that? All right, I see none, so I would entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I would make a motion to pass the consent agenda as it's presented.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman McKinley and a second by Councilman Klein. Roll call, please.
Kane,
Aye.
Marshall,
Aye.
Fordyce,
Aye.
Brunner,
Aye.
Klein,
Yes.
Devine, yes, Witten,
Yes.
McKinley,
Yes.
Cowgill.
Aye. Okay, at this time, does anybody have any committee reports? What? Yeah. Anybody else? Okay, seeing none. We'll go on to unfinished business. Before we do this, I just want to tell everybody in the audience tonight that this isn't a second reading public hearing, so we won't be able to hear anything from the public at this time. But you guys will hear all the discussion between the utilities or their council and us. And when this is all done after that, then we'll take a vote to either override the mayor's veto or let it stand. And Robin and I had talked, if it doesn't go through, this doesn't mean it's done. It just means we got to come back with another plan that works for both sides. So, okay, general ordinance number 30, 2025. Go ahead.
General Ordinance 30, 2025, amending monthly water user rates, vote to override mayor's veto. An ordinance amending the monthly user rates and charges for the city of Marion, Indiana. Introducing an ordinance to adopt water rates and charges sufficient to support the utility's ongoing revenue requirements and obligations under Indiana Code 81538. Speaking, Robin Schrader, Director of Marion Utilities.
Good evening, once again. Thanks for having us. I'm not going to do a ton of talking this evening. Instead, we've got several things to present to you, some information that we feel like might be helpful for you to make this decision. But I want to introduce to you Chris Janock with Bose McKinney. He is our legal counsel, and he's going to share some things with you.
Welcome.
Can everybody hear me? Okay. I didn't know I was going to be the star of the show tonight, or leading off here. My name is Chris Janock. I'm an attorney with Bose, McKinney & Evans in Indianapolis, and I've represented the city of Marion and its utilities for 15, 20 years probably. And I know there's been a lot of discussion about the rates and where we are. And I thought I'd talk about not necessarily how we got here, but where we are today. And with me is also Jennifer Wilson. She's with Crow, which is the financial advisory firm for the utility. And Marty, have you shared the letter with the council that I sent to you? Yes. Okay, so you're going to hear, you've heard some of this, but for the benefit of the public, I'll go ahead
Absolutely.
and share it with you. Where we find ourselves financially as a utility is our revenues are less than our expenses. So typically you want to see at least 100%. So you want to have your revenues be 100% of your expenses. That's, any household would tell you that. Any business would tell you that. We're under 100% for the 12 months ended June 30th of 2025. Jennifer would tell you she does not anticipate that changing anytime soon. So we're underwater. Now why? So it's not a temporary thing. We see that going on into the future unless some sort of action is taken. And to date, we've tried to raise the rates to fix that problem. Not only is it a simple business problem, it is a problem because we have outstanding ordinances and agreements which require us to not only have 100% coverage, but 125% coverage. So our revenues have to exceed our expenses by 25%. So we are way off at this point. Now what that means is, and I've given you the documents, and Marty shared the letter with you, we have a bond ordinance with that requires this, and that's the obligation of the city of Marion, not just the utility, the city of Marion, that it will have rates and amount sufficient to have 125% coverage. And the bondholder, who happens to be the state of Indiana, has a bond ordinance that allows them to enforce that against the city. We also have a financial services agreement with the bondholder that says we will do this. The documents, the bond ordinance and the financial assistance agreement say that if we do not do this, then the state can take certain actions. And you may say, what are they going to do? Well, what they can do is they can come in and intercept the funds. They can basically either take over the utility or go to court and have a receiver appointed, and the receiver will administer the utility. In the state of Indiana, I've been doing this. I'm kind of an old guy. I've been doing this over 30 years. This has never happened in my time. Jennifer, so this would be unprecedented, and unprecedented in a bad way. So we have a problem that we need to fix in some fashion. If a receiver is appointed, we can talk some more about that. It sounds doom and gloom, and and it is kind of doom and gloom from a financial perspective, because if the market finds out that the city of Marion is defaulting on bonds and had to have a receiver appointed, I think it will not only affect the ability of the utility to borrow money, but also the city as a whole. Because this is very uncommon. And so we need to fix this. It's that simple. And how we fix that, that's up to you. We've offered rates, and I think you adopted the rates, and we would ask that you override the veto. I understand where the mayor's coming from, but where we find ourselves right now, we just need to fix this, for not only just for your water utility, but for the city of Marion as a whole. So with that, I can answer any questions. I can sit down, but I'll stop for right. I think that's enough for now.
So you might as well just stay up there, yeah.
Okay.
So you're basically saying that if you guys don't have the money or whatever, that Marion needs to pony up whatever you don't have. Is that what am I understanding that right?
The obligation is this is not property tax back at all. This is all user rate driven. So the utilities are supported by user revenues only. So it won't be the city of Marion ponying this up. It will be, what will happen is we need to have rates in place, because the utility stands on its own. You can use property tax revenues, but typically speaking, the user revenues and what the obligations in the documents require is that your user revenues cover your expenses plus 25%. So either the council gets in a place, or the utility gets in a place where it can cover its revenues and expenses plus 25%, or the state will come in and appoint a receiver, and they'll do it without any input from you. They'll just do it. And they'll hire somebody like me to come in and run the utility. They'll go to court, and they'll get a receiver appointed. They'll appoint somebody. It won't be me, but you get the picture. That will come in and raise the rates, and raise the rates in amount not only to cover the expenses that exist now, but also to pay for all of the proceedings that go into having a receiver appointed. So this is a utility issue. So it will be user rates that need to be increased in some fashion. Does that make sense, Mr. President? Yeah.
Go ahead, Mr. Klein.
And you sort of have done it, but my one question for now is, in short and plain Anglo-Saxon, plain English words, tell us what happens if we do not override this veto.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. And if I start using mumbo jumbo legal words, slow me down and tell me to, just, hey, stop it with the legal mumbo jumbo. Here's what you need to know, I think. If we do not override the veto or get coverage in some way, then we will notify the state that we are in default under our documents, and the state will come in and have somebody, they will take over the utility, and they will increase the rates. And they'll increase the rates not only in an amount to cover your current expenses, they'll increase them to cover all of their costs from having to come in and do that. So that would be bad for the ratepayers, and the city will have the reputation as a whole of not honoring its obligations. And it will make it very difficult for you to borrow money in the future.
So what did you mean when you said get coverage in some way? Explain that.
Yeah. So either we override the veto tonight. The utility has come forward and told you, based on a recommendation from its financial advisor, that these rates that you have before you will get you coverage. That solves the problem. If you override the veto, we have solved the problem and we're good on a going forward basis. Are there other ways to get coverage? Not that we know of, but I don't want to act like I'm the council and telling you what you can or can't do. I'm just telling you the rates need to be raised in some fashion. And that's the only way that I know to, is this still going? Only way I know to get coverage.
Mr. President, may I?
Yes, go ahead.
Just question,
Yes, sir.
so there was a loan taken out for, I think, 1.8 million from the water utility from wastewater. Why now all of a sudden are you saying they're going to be in default? Why weren't they in default before they took the $1.8 million loan? Why now is it the state going to say we're in default? Why weren't we before?
Jennifer, you want to cover that?
So generally, they look at it on a year-end basis. So when we did the analysis using year-end, or we did a year-end June 30th of 2025, that's not considered your fiscal year-end. So now that we're at the end of 2025 and you've taken out a loan and the metrics will show that you don't have coverage using the prior fiscal year, which is going to be year-end 2025.
The other question I have on the bond payment is, and to try and keep it in simple terms, the income that I receive, I pay my mortgage first, my car payment first, I pay all those things first, and then whatever's left. Wouldn't the utilities pay the bond before anything else?
No, in the bond ordinance, there's a flow of funds, and the first thing that gets paid is operating expenses. So that's the first bucket that gets filled. And then the bond payment gets filled next, and the funding of the debt service reserve, that's called the sinking fund, those two together. And then the depreciation fund, which it funds your capital improvements, or also called extensions and replacements. So right now, you are putting enough money into the operating fund bucket and maybe a little bit into the bond and interest and the debt service reserve, but since it's below 1, that's actually being decreased. So you're not filling your buckets like you need to, and there's no overage, that 25% overage that's supposed to go and pay for capital. So you basically have no money for capital, you're not making enough transfers for your bond and interest payments and your debt service reserve, and you're making all your operating expenses according to what the bond ordinance says that's how it's supposed to go.
And then, so this might be a question for Robin, but maybe you can answer it. At the time of the raises for employees, we'll say over the last 3 to 5 years, was the board or the director aware of the 125% rule? And if they were, why were these large raises approved?
I can only speak to when the debt service started to come on. You closed on that loan in February of 2024. So, and it's a draw loan, so you haven't had full year of debt service payments. It's been an increment, increasing over time. So it was a smaller amount in 24 that was due, and it grew in 2025. And in the, I think it's in a year or two, it will be at its full amount of what needs to be paid. So it hasn't been building, it hasn't been at the highest amount it needs to be, or it hasn't been at the highest amount it will be for another year or two. And that was designed that way to go along with the phase-in of the rate increase.
Right, but my question is, and I'll just be blunt to the point, is why were such large pay raises approved when the financial situation was dire over the last 5 years? Reserves were dwindling over the last 10 years. So my question is, did the board and director know of the 125% rule prior to approving any of these pay raises over the last 3 to 5 years?
It's not that we were unaware, but our board has had a history of trying to take care of our employees, because without the employees, we don't have a utility. Without the employees, in the middle of the night, when a water main breaks on your street, there's no one to come and fix it, and you're not going to get a shower in the morning. Without our employees, we don't have a quality water product to provide to the city of Marion. And quite honestly, if we contract those services out, we're looking at even greater expenses. Our employees are our most valuable assets. They're important, and we have to take care of them. And historically, we have provided increases based on a very systematic process, looking at the national cost of living. So it's not a random number, it's not haphazard. It's been systematically trying to take care of those folks because we know that when we lose them, we are losing the utility.
Last question or statement is, every city employee we have is valuable. Every police officer, every firefighter. We don't take care of them, we don't have safety and security. But as a city council, we're the fiduciary body. And we have to separate emotions from data and facts. And we only take in so much tax revenue, so therefore we can only spend so much. So my pushback, and you can respond, is knowing what you're receiving for user fees, the data did not support it. I'm not saying myself or any other council member here don't think the employees there did not deserve a raise. Our police and our fire, our other street department, all our employees, we could definitely give them a raise if we could. But we would be in the red as a city. And thankfully, we have some very dedicated public safety, very dedicated city hall employees that come to work and do the job and do it well, knowing they could probably make money somewhere else. And so, but at the end of the day, you only bring in so much, you can only spend so much. And so I just don't understand if there was a 125% rule and the board and you knew about it, or whoever was in charge at the time, why these were allowed, at least in a time being when you knew you were in dire financial straits and upside down financially. Why couldn't those raises have raised? And I've seen the pay scale and I've seen the salaries, and doesn't seem like anyone at utilities is doing too bad. They look like good, healthy salaries, especially compared to city hall employees. But at the end of the day, it's still numbers in, numbers out. And I just don't understand why that was approved, knowing that this was going to put you in a dire financial strait. And I feel really offended as a council member that we're come to basically expected to rubber stamp this and go, no matter what decisions we made at utilities, you guys have to bear the weight of saying yes to a rate increase. And then we're held accountable. Like I've said at the other meetings, we're the only elected officials here that are held accountable to what's going on there. Because we, the mayor, the council, appoint the board, but we also are the ones who have to approve the rate increases. And so this is why we're here and discussing this. But I feel like the decisions that are being made at utilities are just done thinking, well, we're just gonna, don't worry, we're just gonna go to the council and they're just gonna raise the rates to take care of that. That's all I have.
Well, in response to that, I would say, first off, when we do look at the salaries and when we establish those or when we make adjustments, anything of that sort, that's all based on data that comes from the American Water Works Association wage study, which is comparing apples to apples. In other words, looking at folks who do exactly what we do across the state and then across the nation. We also take into consideration our neighboring utilities, neighboring counties, and the economic situation here, which is why if you look at that wage study from 2025, you'll actually see that our wages are comparable or on the very low side of things. So that's our attempt to make a concession for that. But beyond that, the bigger picture, you know, we spent several weeks talking about the $740,000 that, you know, what was that and where did that come from? And we talked about part of that was healthcare cost, part of that was a salary increase. If memory serves, I believe the actual salary increase amounted to about $340,000 of that $740,000. When you look at $340,000 versus 10 years of zero capital improvement projects, we're kind of talking about a drop in the bucket. So the grand perspective on this is that we have to focus on the things that are the most important. And the most important part of this is we need to invest millions of dollars into the system that we simply don't have. The wages and salaries are such a small portion of that, comparatively speaking, that I just feel strongly that we're focusing on the wrong part of this equation.
I understand what you're saying, but I've been with the city for 30 years between the fire department and the city council. And out of those 30 years, probably a third, 10 times, we went without raises. City employees, I'm speaking of. And we aren't comparable. You're saying at least you're comparable. We're not. We're low paid. And the differences between a lot of people on the utility and then the equivalent to what they would be with the city, they're making like $50,000 more than what okay, I'll just read it to you here real quick. The executive director for the utilities, this is adding in the 2.8% that you had, is going to be at $149,171. Our mayor, which is the equivalent to the top with you, is at $101,000. So there's, $49,000 difference there. The assistant director of engineering, he is going to be making $137,575. The equivalent, our engineer, Mike Graff, after 20 years of being with the city, only makes $70,000. There's another $50,000. Your executive assistant makes $101,000. Our executive assistant, well, it depends. If you're talking about the mayor's executive assistant, she makes $38,000 compared to $101,000. If you're talking like the controller, again, $68,000 to $101,000. Your IT guy, he makes $98,574, and he has an assistant too that makes $68,000. So your IT between the two is $166,000. Our IT guy doesn't have an assistant. He only makes $75,000. So he does all of our IT. That's, that's a $90,000 difference. And sometimes you just, believe me, it's not easy to tell employees no, because I agree with you, Robin. I think your employees are where it's at. And you say, we got to take care of our employees. And I commend you guys for wanting to do that. But like the 10 times that I've been involved, they said no, it's strictly because we couldn't afford that. I feel like your board is just giving and giving and giving. And like Councilman McKinley said, I feel like, and then it's put on us to take care of it because, look, if you don't, we're in trouble here. But yet we had no say in how the financial situation got here. And it's not just with raises. I agree with you on that because I know you went 10, 15 years without pay rate increases then. But we didn't do that. The utilities did that. That was the utilities' idea not to do that. But then now because of that, and I know you wasn't director then, you had nothing to do with that, but because of that, now we're trying to make it all up in one lump sum. I'm going to be honest with you. My phone is ringing off the hook the last 2 weeks. I've had probably, I got here at 6 o'clock for me. I've had 3 texts since 6 o'clock. They just don't think it's fair that whether it be the board or whoever's in charge of all your stuff, that because they have mishandled the money in the right way, that now we're wanting to put it on the back of the taxpayers. And I have a problem with that. I do. I've been torn for 2 weeks. I don't know what to do, to be honest with you. I don't know what the answer is. I've told you that too. Something's got to change. There's no doubt about that. And I agree with your counsel. It's, I don't know what that answer is right now, but I do believe in the yin and yang theory. No matter what the problem is, there's a solution. We just got to figure out what that solution is together. And I also can't thank you enough, Robin, for saying, look, I'll come in. Let's talk, get on, let's do all this together, because the more people we have involved, the more likely we're going to come up with an answer quick. I'm an elected official. They elected me. when they swore me in, I promised to do the best thing that I can for the citizens of this town. And I can't veer from that. I personally cannot veer from that. So, I don't know, I guess we're gonna see what happens. I do know that if this does not get overridden, and I discussed this with you earlier, I've talked with the mayor, doesn't mean it's over. We can come back immediately and get together, figure out a better compromise that is a better compromise for the citizens of this town. It's a compromise for you guys, so you're able to put back in there. Do you guys, and I'm not sure what fund it is, Robert, I don't know who it would be to answer this, but do you guys have like a capital gain or whatever that fund would be called, that's got like $7 or $8 million in it? Is that true or no?
Not for the water utility.
Okay, that's why I'm asking. Okay.
No, not for the water utility. Those funds have been spent because we didn't have a rate increase for such a long period of time.
Okay.
And part of the reason for that, there was a different council, there was a different mayor, there was a different board, there was a different director. And it's, here again, we've talked a lot about how we got to this point. Should we have talked about rate increases a long time ago? Probably so. In an attempt to serve the public as best we could, we did the best that we thought we could with what we had. And we lasted a long time because of the way things had been set up back in the early 2000s. But a lot of things have changed, and we've talked about a lot of economic development and economic changes that we've seen. We've had a couple years of record-setting inflation that's happened. And quite honestly, to be fair, sometimes the city has had an opportunity to provide raises to its employees that have far exceeded what we've had. It's kind of been back and forth if you look back at the history. But I can also, I'm not going to speak negatively of anyone, but I will speak positively of the utility. We've taken on the trash services, and fortunately you guys approved a rate increase for that last year after having gone kind of on fumes for 10 years, and that was incredibly helpful. We also took back the street sweeping, and we didn't increase the rates for that. There was a lot of COVID relief money that came to the city, but the utility was not able to take advantage of any of that money. We have loaned the city money on several occasions, even written off a $1.7 million loan several years ago. So it's been our attempt to help the city at every opportunity. And I can't speak against. It seems like an unfair competition to set the city employees up against the utility employees, because those job descriptions are very different. And I haven't seen the job descriptions for the city employees, but I know what's required of the utility employees. And I know that some of the guys who are out there in the middle of the night at 4 degrees plugging a water main, they're not being paid enough. And we are withholding that because we are trying to be considerate with that. So again, regardless of how we got where we are here today. We are asking for your help because we need to make this happen, because we want to be able to continue providing a quality service.
We got the best water in the state. I'll argue that with anyone. You guys do a great job. And I'm not trying to compare city employees with utility employees either, but when we're trying to talk about facts, then we need to talk about the real facts. And I know there's a lot of misinformation that people I've talked with, that they said, well, you guys are talking about a 40% increase. So I know your water bill's not 100, but let's say if your water bill's 100, then they're saying so it'll go up to $140. And that's not true, because we're only talking about the water part of it alone. So if your bill was $100, it would go up to like $106 or $107. It's not a whole 40%. So I want to make sure everybody understands that. Go ahead.
Yeah, and with that 40%, if you recall, the previous rate increase had already approved 15 of that. So the reality is that difference is not even 40%. The request is just to scoot up what had already been approved, and then the extra 19, 20 on top of that, 20% on top of that. Just for clarification.
No, yes, I'm glad you said that, because I'm trying to get everybody to understand what's really happening. And I get it, on, like you said, the guys out plugging a main at 4 degrees and stuff, I get that. But something else I could testify to is when you're out at 4 o'clock in the morning, it's 5 degrees, and you're running into a burning building, you come out, you're frozen. I mean, the police officers trying to run people down so both have to have common ground that works for you, works for us, and I don't think in the past that's happened. But I think that's what we need to do now, 100%. And
Well, and if you look at the rest of the salary package, so the folks that were kind of in that upper echelon, they're servicing not just one utility, but 4 utilities. And even the wage study that AWWA provides only looks at 2 at a time, water and wastewater. And so I'm not making a case to justify that so much as to say the rest of those folks, the folks that are plugging those mains and sweeping the streets and whatnot, they're actually, for the most part, lower than a lot of the salaries that were mentioned by the city, like the fire and the police that were on that list as well. So just, taking in the whole picture of things.
I know one of the things that we talked about was options of where we can go from here. The first one being to override the veto and then not given any other real options. Is there a possibility of going back and readjusting the budget to be able to meet that criteria of the 125%? And what would that look like? Had you guys even discussed that?
So that would ultimately be a board decision. And here again, just for the sake of the public, remind you that 3 of our board members are appointed by the city council and 4 appointed by the mayor. So that's not a choice that the utility has. That comes from you guys collectively. That would be a board decision, but the stuff that we're talking about, even if we subtracted those employee increases for this year, it's a drop in the bucket. It is so insignificant compared to what we need overall. It's still not going to get us to that point where we're financially healthy. So, and I don't know what else we could cut at this point because we've slimmed down considerably.
I have a question. Based on this experience, going through all of this, the mayor's veto, what, if anything, will change moving forward, or what will be done differently at utilities to prevent us from getting in this situation again?
I mean, we're always consulting with our advisors. We keep close contact with Jennifer at Crow, as well as Chris at the law firm, and we're listening to those folks. I think the biggest thing is perhaps just sharing with folks how things actually work and how that needs to be done. And that's an education factor. And I'm happy to provide that. I've stated in the past, the utility operates in full view of everyone. We provide you guys with our monthly financial statements, our year-end reviews. State Board of Accounts comes in and is overseeing all of that on an annual basis and giving us their perspective on things. So we are completely an open book for folks to come and learn about how things actually work, because I think sometimes we have part of the information, part of the story, and it's easy, and I'm guilty of this. It's easy to make an assumption and kind of think that we've got the whole thing figured out, when in fact there's so many parts and pieces. I wouldn't presume to know how the city's financial structure works because I haven't studied it, and I'm not part of that on a daily basis. And I wouldn't expect you guys to be able to come into the wastewater plant and to know how much we should, waste-activated sludge that we should waste out of the system and how much we should return to the system to make sure that the bugs are happy. Or how much we should dose the chlorine to make sure that it's safe to drink but not going to kill you when you drink it. Those sorts of things. So I think education probably is the biggest thing. And, you know, we try to do that, and we can certainly increase our efforts on that front. From a financial perspective, again, as we operate as a nonprofit entity, you know, every dollar goes back into the city. It goes back into what we're trying to do, the infrastructure that we're trying to care for, so that we can help Marion be the best that it can be.
The gentleman who put a veto on this is the mayor, and I would like to hear from the mayor, who's been sitting there very quietly throughout the evening. So, Mayor, can you tell us why and how, and your take on the entire situation, please?
Well, what an honor to be here. I'm glad to be here on this is the first council meeting of 26. Yeah, so as I was preparing to speak today, trying to figure out what I was going to say, I decided to take the position and the voice of the people. As you look at and you see many of them that are here and many who couldn't make it, we've been in situations in the city of Marion where we've had to make tough choices. We've had to cut things, move things, and ultimately try to do what's best for the 28,000 and some change of people that live in the city of Marion. And what I've heard and the feedback that I've received from those people that I and we represent is at this time, they can't afford to pay this. We, in respect to honoring our utilities, because again, I do believe we have the best water in the state as well, there may need to be some type of increase, but what I would propose and hope is that we work collaboratively in public working sessions with the council, the administration, and the utilities, with the public can be involved, and then having in the step and having an opinion on how we craft this, because ultimately, you know, they're the ones that have to bear the brunt of paying for this. And everything that we do as public servants is heavily scrutinized, and rightfully so. So I believe that scrutiny needs to be withheld in every element of the city of Marion. So if we're going to move forward with any type of rate increase, asking those who are struggling, times are hard. You know, we did a major food giveaway, and the line was wrapped around the block because people are struggling at this moment. Things are going on in the world that are tough. So for us, if we're going to go out and lobby to increase any type of fee, tax, that make the citizens pay more money, it has to be a solid, justifiable reason why. And if a rate increase is necessary, I would like us all to work together and be transparent to come up with what that percentage is, and ultimately we have to answer to the citizens. That's what I'm here to do, and want us all to be here on the same page to do as well. We have to speak for the citizens and do what the citizens want us to do. Ultimately, thanks.
Thank you, Mayor.
Any other discussion?
Just one last time before we vote, I hope. What is the short, plain English explanation of what happens if the veto stands, please?
If the veto stands, our lender, this is no different than your home mortgage, our lender will start foreclosure proceedings. It's that simple. We're not paying our bills. We're not honoring our obligation under our mortgage, which is the bond documents. So, and I haven't been here, and I'm not, you know I'm not from here, so who am I kidding? So, but I understand we've had lots of meetings, we've had lots of discussions. Even if you got rid of all the rate increases, you still need a significant rate increase. I mean, instead of 20%, you may need 18. We need to do something, guys, and it needs to be pretty quick, because if you don't pay your mortgage, your home lender is not going to sit there and wait for you to get further in the hole. They're going to do something, and I would anticipate the state will do the same thing, our lender.
While you're up there, on that, how long, you say they'll start?
I thought you might ask that question, but it's legitimate. Finish your
How
question.
long before the banks would knock at the door? I mean, we have the loan going on, and the reason I ask is that, kind of adding on to what the mayor said, is, maybe we can come to a compromise somewhere. Maybe it's not through this particular ordinance, maybe it's through another one. Obviously, we're paying the bond now, correct? We didn't miss last month's bond payment, did we?
You did not miss.
Okay, we did not miss last month's bond payment, great. So how much longer can we continue to pay the bond before this urgent rate increase is needed? I know we're still bringing in a revenue because, well, I just paid my water bill. So how much time do we have if there needs to be a compromise, or maybe come to the table and maybe understand better the process of moving forward for a rate increase? What's our timing?
There's two parts to this. Maybe Jennifer can handle how long can we make the payments, but that's one part of it, and I'll answer the second part if that's okay with you, Mr. McKinley. Go ahead, Jennifer. You want to answer the first part about how long we can make these payments?
Right. So since you have a loan from the sewage works, you're able to make the deposits into your bond and interest fund to make the payments. So because of that loan, you're able to get through. If you did not have that loan, you would not be able to make the payments into the bond and interest account.
What, on a monthly basis, how much monthly are we in the red? After we make all our payments, pay all our expenses, how much are we losing each month in water?
I don't have those numbers. I just have what I did for the rate increase that said you need to raise your rates.
So we don't know how much we're paying out versus what we're bringing in on a monthly basis? Do we have it on a quarterly?
Sorry. Is it, yeah.
It's that right there, right?
Yeah, so it's $1,323,000 overall annual increase that we're asking for. So if you divide that by 12, it's a little bit over 100,000, whatever, $110,000.
Well, I understand what increase you're asking for.
Yes.
That's also to
make capital improvements as well, yes.
It's also to build up your cash reserves. My specific question is, how much are we upside down per month? How much are we paying out per month versus how much are we bringing in? How much are we losing each month?
I don't have those numbers specifically because it is all encompassing. You have to look at all these items: operating, bond and interest, putting money away for capital improvement. So it's hard to segregate just that one operating item. And in addition to that, you had gotten a loan from the water utility has a loan from the sewage works. So that is propping up your fund balances at this point in time.
Right, and the reason I ask is I wanted just to know how long that loan money will last, and to nail it down to what I'm really asking is, how much time do we have to figure this out before he says the banks are going to be knocking at the door?
That's a legitimate question. And here's the issue, and this was the second part, because I thought you might ask that question, because that's what somebody at home would say when they're trying to rectify a budget. Is this a short-term thing? Here, your lender does not want you running your utility into the ground. If you can't make your payments now, that's only, you're digging a bigger and a bigger and a bigger hole. And that's why I think they'll be pretty aggressive. Now, the real question I think you're asking is, how much time do we have before the repo man comes and appoints a receiver? Don't know that, but I think this is something we need to get solved within the month. So we have to have a solution within a month. I really do. Now, does that mean on day 31? Does that mean the state or bondholders aren't going to come in 2 weeks and start sending us notices and send them, hey, you need to fix this, or I don't know how quickly they're going to do that, but I think we need to come up with a solution within a month, and if we can tell them we will come up with a solution within a month, I think they'll work with us. But guys, we're going to have to be aggressive about this, and I'd like for you to kind of amongst yourselves figure out a deadline of when you think you can do it, and I'll tell the lender that and report back. But I think we need to figure something out in 30 days.
Thank you.
Yep. And I assume, and I haven't talked to Marty about this, but I think what you're talking about is maybe starting over. So we'd have to notice this up and do new public hearings, and I think that's what we're talking about. So, but as long as we can get a solution within the next 30 days, and I would rather you fix it tonight, obviously, because I'm not sure the solution you're going to see is going to be materially different from what we're talking about, but we need to do something pretty quickly.
Mr. President, thank you. I'm sure the people in the audience are as frustrated as we are sitting up here. It seems like everybody's wanting to pass the buck here to this city council with no ownership from the Water Utility Board. And I'm not sure how many of those are sitting in the audience tonight, but I know in the previous meetings, they didn't show up. They weren't interested in coming to our meetings and hearing what was said. There was a couple here. There was a couple here, but not in force. So this is just super, super frustrating. It seems like we're going around in circles, and utilities doesn't want to take any responsibility for the problem that they're in right now. The financial advisor, Crow, I'm not sure where they were in all this and how they let this happen. They knew this was, well, maybe they didn't. They didn't seem to know this was a problem until the last few months. And all of a sudden now they're asking for the city to bail the utilities out. So I think I share everybody's, including the public's, frustration in this, that this has to be put back on the utility board. They need to go back to the drawing board and figure out, you know what are you going to do? Do you maybe take away, maybe do you take away the raises for this year? Maybe it's too late for that. I don't know. But every little bit helps. I've worked for many different people over the years, and there was some mighty lean years that there was no raises handed out, people laid off, cuts made, improvements not done, expansion plans pulled back. So I think the utility board itself owns this. And so I think along with the mayor and this board and the utility board, I think we can sit down and maybe work out some type of a compromise to where this is more palatable for us and the public to swallow. So whenever you're ready for a motion, I'm ready to make a motion, Mr. President.
Councilman Marshall he wanted to speak first.
I've sat and tried to listen and understand all the dynamics that are here. And the biggest problem I have is that I haven't heard the word compromise from the utility. I've heard us say that, and I haven't seen anyone suggest that there is room for compromise. So that's the problem I'm having with it. I'm not comfortable with the increase and the amount of it because I haven't paid the bill just like everyone else. And, you know, It's unfortunate that we've gotten in this position, and it seems really odd that it has been allowed to get this bad. So I too feel like the Board of Utility bears a lot of the responsibility for not pulling and stop and saying something needs to be done years ago. So I hope that we can find a compromise. And to me, that means you all going back to the table and saying, okay, this is what we hoped for, but we can live with this. And then maybe everyone will feel better about it. So it's not a question, it's more of a statement.
Thank you. Is that it? All right, if there's no other discussion, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I move that we uphold the mayor's veto.
Second.
Okay.
Just a
so
point
before we-
of order, if I may. Not arguing the motion, but a yes vote means
That's what I was just getting
and-
ready to explain.
Okay, thank you.
So the motion is to uphold. So if you vote yes, that means you are agreeing with the mayor and the veto stands. A no vote means you are wanting to override the mayor's veto. Is that not correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, roll call, please.
Kane,
Aye.
Marshall,
All right?
Fordyce,
No.
Brunner,
Aye.
Klein,
No.
Devine,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
McKinley,
Yes.
Cowgill,
Yes. So the veto is not overridden? That's what I'm saying, yeah, the veto stands. We got, I agree with council, it needs to be done right away. I say that Robin or whoever, get with the mayor and he will get with the council. And I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I mean, there is a compromise in there. I know it, there is. But we need to get this done quick. And I do strongly hope that the board is realizing the situation, how bad it's gotten, and that, you know, they work with us as well to come up with a compromise of some sort. Okay. Next item on the agenda is General Ordinance 32, 2025.
Economic Development Commission Ordinance, second reading and public hearing, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Marion amending the City of Marion Code of Ordinances. The City of Marion previously created the Marion Economic Development Commission. The commission assists the city in financing economic development facilities through the issuance of economic development revenue bonds. While the commission has been a longstanding body of the city, their enabling authorities have never been codified into the city's municipal code of ordinances. Additionally, the city would like to increase the number of commissioners from 3 to 5 as permitted by Indiana law to meet the growing demands of the commission. Speaking, Mayor Morrell.
Good evening again, and Happy New Year. Excited to be here and to talk about some of the progress we have going on. So, as you know, the Economic Development Commission is currently comprised of 3 people, one appointed by the mayor, one appointed by the city council, one appointed by the county council. The state law allows for us to update this ordinance to have 5 appointments, and the reasoning we're searching after this is because with the frequency of our projects and new things going on, the Economic Development Council is a council that meets only on a as-needed basis, and because of only 3 people being on there, it's harder to get a quorum to be able to get these projects forward, thus putting us in positions where we've had to stall things because of that. And if we expand out our Economic Development Council, that gives us more people to be able to pull from to be able to get these things done. So I'm just asking that we update and actually codify this ordinance to be able to allow us to have 5 members on the EDC.
Any questions or discussion from the council? No. All right. This is a second reading public hearing. So anybody from the public would like to discuss either against or for this, you come up to the microphone, state your name and your address, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Council, could you do the timer, please?
quickly
Yeah.
too, Mr. Calgill.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's a minute, right? Only thing I got is going from 3 to 5. Okay, we've talked about going off an economic cliff. We've talked about doing all this and spending all this money. And, you know, we have to look at the wants versus the needs, or the likes and the needs. Even in the thing here, it says we would like to have, but do we need to have? And what really defines the need? You know, we got stuff going on now. As you start to get more revenue coming in and more base of population coming in, then yeah, maybe that's time for that. But I don't understand why we would want to do that when we just debated on finances and now we're going to add positions. That makes absolutely no sense to me. And then we also got to realize that we have a unique situation over the last couple years. We had a lot of funds that were allocated from the rescue fund, the ARPA. Those are gone. We don't have those no more. Now we got to actually get in and account for the budget that we have going forward. So I just caution adding more people, and really take a look at being fiscally responsible for these types of things. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, can you state your name and address real quick, please? Sorry.
I was too busy congratulating you all. Bill Creech, 1409 Ironwood, Marion, Indiana.
Thank you, Bill.
Yeah, Mr. President. Go ahead.
Ms. Creech, I just want to let you know that these are not paid positions. These are voluntary. So there will be no more cost on the city going from 3 to 5.
Can I make a statement? They will have expenses, right?
No. No, it will cost the city $0 for having go from 3 to 5.
They won't have any travel expenses. They won't have any expenses.
No, sir. No, no, sir.
They come to a monthly board meeting.
Yeah. I just wanted to let you understand that. All right. Anybody else like to speak for or against this? All right. I see nobody else coming to the mic, so we'll go ahead and close the public portion of this. Council, is there any other discussion?
I think this is a fantastic idea. Thank you for addressing this, Mayor. And just for clarity, this is basically a board position, volunteer. There's no per diem, no expense account. They get this, it's just going from 3 minds making a decision to 5. So, but I appreciate your input because, yeah, if there was an expense with this, I would definitely critique it. But there's no extra expense. In fact, whoever the 2 new people are, it's an expense for them to come in on their own time and drive in and contribute to this board. So it is voluntary, and I appreciate the mayor. I think 5 minds is definitely better for 3, especially when you're having to have a quorum and you're missing 1 or 2 people. It's much more difficult to get a quorum with 3 versus 5. So commend the mayor for doing this.
Anybody else? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I'd like to move that we suspend the rules on General Ordinance Number 32, 2025.
Second.
Man, that seems weird. I didn't suspend the rules. So we got a motion by David, and we have a second by Nick. Roll call, please.
Kane.
Aye.
Marshall.
Aye.
Fordyce.
Aye.
Brunner.
Aye.
Klein.
Yes.
Devine.
Yes.
Witten.
Yes.
McKinley.
Yes.
Cowgill.
Yes. I would now entertain a motion to pass.
Mr. President, I'd make a motion to pass General Ordinance 32-2025.
Second.
Okay, we got the motion by Councilman McKinley, second by Councilman Kane. Roll call.
Kane.
Aye.
Marshall.
Aye.
Fordyce.
Aye.
Brunner.
Aye.
Klein.
Yes.
Devine.
Yes.
Witten. Yes. Cowgill, McKinley.
Yes.
Cowgill.
Yes. Okay, well, that was the last item on the agenda for tonight. Does anybody have any announcements?
I need all of the council members to not leave because this ordinance requires everybody's signature.
I have to leave right after, sorry.
No, sir, not allowed.
Okay. I'll take no announcements, and I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Mr. President, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Have a motion by Councilman McKinley and a second by Councilman Brenner. Roll call.
Kane.
Aye.
Marshall. Aye. Fordyce. Brunner.
Aye.
Klein. Yes. Devine. Yes. Witten.
Yes.
McKinley.
Yes.
Cowgill.
Aye. Okay, Council.